time. This is how you always start the intro. You cough into the mic. So that's how it opens. As soon as people click the button and you're coughing, they're like, this is high quality entertainment. These are fantastic. These are production skills. We started a long time ago. We started as soon as I hit that. We're recording this when you're I'm not joking. Just think about what I'm doing with my life. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Alex, we've reached a major milestone today. It's the big 5-0. They said it couldn't be done, but we did it. Welcome, everybody, to episode 50 of the Old Man Magic podcast. It is, let me check my notes because I never know what day it is. It is Sunday, July 23rd, 2023. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. If you are watching on any of the other platforms that we're on, just do whatever people ask you to do on those platforms. I don't know, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts.
Do something, probably.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. I'm enjoying Instagram so far. There's been no politics, no culture war nonsense. It's just people posting cardboard and occasionally carved spoons. Shout out to Armin Lawrence. After our intro to Turbo Xerox last week, Alex and I wanted to dig more into cantrip spells. We talked about that deck and we were like, okay, what if we want to upgrade Turbo Xerox? If it's possible to make it better with other pre-modern legal cards, what would we choose? Could we choose even better cantrips to put into Turbo Xerox than the ones that Alan Comer put in back in 97 with the card pool that was available to him? Over the next couple episodes, we are going to find out. We've got no follow-ups to last episode, so let's just get right into segment 1, Alex. Segment 1, I am calling this Premodern Cantrips, Part 1, Ice Age to Urzas.
Awesome. I'm excited about this because I looked at cantrips a little bit a while ago just for general deck building and commander, but some of the lists had like a lot of modern cantrips mixed in. So yeah, just looking at pre-modern cantrips will be useful.
We did come across some of them, like here and there, just going through set list haphazardly, but this is the first time we've ever taken like
There's a lot.
What do I want to say? Taking a ordered approach to this. So we want to know what cantrips are out there that are pre-modern legal, what their respective pros and cons are, how they stack up against one another. Let's start just by going straight into what is a cantrip. I pulled up this article from Mark Rosewater called Cantrip Down Memory Lane. And
I get it.
He stated that the idea behind the original cantrips was that they represented effects so minor that they were worth less than a mana. The only way to make them worth enough to spend mana on was to take away the other cost, the cost of the card. So that's the general idea behind these cantrips. They're low power spells that also allow you to draw another card to replace them.
And this is like this is a concept that like goes back, I mean, probably maybe even farther, but to D&D at least, because in Dungeons and Dragons, cantrip spells were like less than a full spell of level 1 generally. They were more versatile because you could decide what to do, but you were limited in their power. They're kind of worth less than an average spell.
That is, I believe that's where the game designers pulled it from, or magic designers pulled it from, D&D. I have seen reference to that.
The word cantrip of Scotch origin possibly comes from the Gaelic term, I can't pronounce that.
Alex going.
Piper's mnemonic chant.
That's close enough. We'll go with that. They were introduced, cantrips were introduced. We had this question last week. Were they introduced during Ice Age? The answer is yes. They were introduced as a new mechanic in Ice Age. Although it's not a keyword, I don't think the word cantrip has ever appeared on a Magic card. I could be wrong, but all the cards I've gone through so far, I've never actually seen cantrip anywhere in the text box. There's definitely no cantrip spell type. So interestingly, all of the initial cantrips are sometimes referred to as slow trips. This is a term that people use today. because you didn't get to draw the card until next turn. So this is something I found on MTG Wiki under Ice Age. Additionally, Ice Age set the precedent of such spells drawing a card during the next upkeep. This was done instead of today's simpler draw a card because the developers were not sure if adding card draw to simple spells would make them overpowered. They chose to print a more conservative version of the ability. Delayed card drawing would continue on cantrips through the Visions expansion when the delay was removed for being unnecessary. So all the ones that I remembered were like this. They were the slow trip version, even though we did play after Visions. I just forgot. I forgot they made that shift at some point. So we're going to start with our review of cantrips where cantrips began, in the Ice Age. So I have a list here of Ice Age cantrips. Alex and I are going to go through them as quickly as we possibly can. And after
we don't want to spend any more time than we need to on Blessed Wine, right?
No. After we get through each set, we're going to talk about which ones we think are the best. So Barb Sextant, one colorless artifact. I've actually played around with this one a little bit in some decks, in some pre-modern decks where I needed some mana fixing. And I didn't really necessarily want to add another card, but I wanted some card draw. It gives me some deck thinning, some card draw, and some mana fixing all at once. You pay one colorless tap, sacrifice the Sextant to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Pay this ability as an interrupt, draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So I don't think this one's terrible. Blessed Wine, no, we're never going to play this. 1 colorless, 1 white, gain a life, draw a card next upkeep. Clairvoyance, 1 blue, instant, look at target player's hand, draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. I don't think this one is going to get any play because you think of all the other cards that do similar things or better things. There are so many good blue cantrips. Why play Clairvoyance? I don't know. Enervate. This is a repeated effect that we'll see in cantrips constantly. Tap target artifact, creature, or land, then draw a card next upkeep. There's a ton of these that either tap or untap multiple card types or a single card type, and they're largely interchangeable. And again, I don't think they get much play. It's just a twiddle plus a card draw next turn.
Yeah.
Flare draws 1 damage or deals 1 damage to creature or player. Draw a card. Why put that in a red deck when you have so many other ways, better ways to deal direct damage? Force Void is a force spike with 2 added colorless for the benefit of adding a card, of drawing a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. Don't think that gets any play either. These are cards we never played with. I remember Formation from back in the day just because of the art. Target creature gains banding until end of turn, then draw a card. Nobody plays that. Foxfire, untap target attacking creature. Neither receives nor deals damage in combat this turn.
It's so expensive, like compared to a Fog, which works on multiple creatures or something, you know? Yeah.
Or a Maze of Ith. Yeah, I mean, for 3.
It should be 1.
For 3. Bad card. Gravebind, target creature cannot regenerate this turn. Draw a card. Very few use cases in the middle of a game. I mean, if you're
Especially
playing
back
against...
then, God, like there's absolutely no reason to be like proactively playing against regeneration.
I mean, unless you might sideboard this against your one friend who constantly plays his Will-O-the-Wisp and Sedge Troll deck, but other than that, no, not going to do it. Heal, terrible white spell, prevent a damage. Infuse, 2 colorless, 1 blue. I like the art, but again, untapping. Enervate, tapping. Infuse, untapping. Krovakin Fetish, 2 colorless, 1 black, enchant creature. Draw a card at the beginning of the upkeep of the turn after Krovakin Fetish comes into play. Target creature gets +1/+1. I thought about this one for a little while. I'm like, would I ever play this?
What's the casting cost again?
It's 2 colorless, 1 black.
Oh yeah, that's just...
There are a lot of these that really should just be 1 colorless, 1 colored mana. I don't know why.
Yeah. Or even just 1 colored mana, just the straight 1 black or whatever.
Yeah.
There's definitely something better than this that does something similar now.
It's just very Ice Age. I mean, Ice Age, the designers took the flavor of the Ice Age set so far that they kind of made it difficult to play.
Everything must be frozen and slow.
Yes,
and
outside of just the Ice Age environment. We're like, let's make a set where we just make everything super slow. Magic's been around for a few years now. Everybody knows the fast cards are the powerful cards. It's the stuff people love to play. Let's, for the kids who are just joining right now, let's make a slow ass set. Let's make the slowest set possible. Let's give them some boosters where they're thinking they're going to open like Moxes and Lotuses. Just give them Krovikan Fetish. Anyways, be nice. Be nice to you.
I'm recognizing a lot of these from the art because I know I have several of them, like Panic and Mind Ravel, and that first blue one you showed. Like I have lots of these like in my box just because I got them from packs of Ice Age.
Lightning Blows gives first strike. Mind Ravel discards a card. Again, so many good discard spells. Even in Fallen Empires, you had Hymn to Torak. Here in Ice Age, we have Mind Ravel, where you can pay 2 colors and 1 black to cast a sorcery, where a target player gets to choose and discard a card from their hand.
Yeah.
And then you get to draw a card next turn. Panic, target creature cannot block. Again, just 1 creature, not all their creatures.
It's only 1 red, though, isn't it, that one?
Only 1 red, yeah.
Well, that's not the worst. Now, Portent, we have a good one, finally.
Portent's a great one. It's still one that gets play. Sorcery, 1 blue. Look at the top 3 cards of target player's library. Then either shuffle that library or put those 3 cards on top of the library in any order. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You can play this on yourself. You can play this on your opponent. You can use it to screw your opponent in multiple ways. You can use it to dig deeper in your deck. Good card.
Yeah, I like it. I like the versatility.
I remember the art on this guy.
God, I remember this card. I feel like I probably have like 6 of these.
Pick Knight?
Pike Knight?
Pick Knight?
I don't know.
2 colorless, 1 green, 1/1, summon Pike Knight. Probably the only Pike Knight in the game. Draw a card at the beginning of the upkeep of the turn after the Pike Knight comes into play. It's just a vanilla 1/1, and they're like, we're going to give it a middling ability and add 2 colorless.
It's like, why couldn't they have just made this 2 casting cost or 1 casting?
Because Ice Age, everything has to be slow. Ray Eraser,
he has arthritis. He's like, that little guy. He's cold and he has arthritis.
Can't expect much from him. We talked about Ray of Erasure last week.
I always thought it was not a bad card. I don't know if it ever really fits, makes its way into a deck, but
definitely not one of the worst that we've seen so far from Ice Age. Touch of Death, 2 colorless, 1 black sorcery, deals 1 damage to target player, and you gain 1 life. Draw a card. Touch of Vitae, target creature may untap 1 additional time in this turn. Updraft, target creature gains flying tiger. This might have been the inspiration for the flying zebra art that we saw. What was it, in 5th edition or something? And then we get to the Bauble. The Bauble was a card when we came back to Magic. I was like, oh my God, I wanted to buy some Urza's Baubles because I saw them in something, and then I found out they were like $10 at the time. They may have come down since then. This was during a lot
at least 5.
Yeah. This was during the craziest price spikes when I first saw that. But didn't expect this
because I have pretty much multiples of most of those other ones, but I don't have any Urza's Baubles.
The great thing about the Bauble is it's 0 casting cost. It's the first 0 casting cost of all these cantrips.
This one's actually so far. People, like to play it sometimes.
Tap to sacrifice Urza's Bauble to choose a card at random from target player's hand. Look at that card. Ignore this ability if that player has no cards left in hand. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So its ability is truly useless, even more useless than all the other abilities we've seen. But it is 0 casting cost. So I think you just use the Bauble when you kind of want to have a 56 card deck, right? This turns your deck into a 56 card deck, sort of.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah.
Let's say a 58 card deck, because you need to wait till the next turn's upkeep in order to draw the card.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a 57.8 card deck. maybe. The best ones, in my opinion, I'm into the Sextant, the Bauble, Portent. Portent, definitely. Bauble, also definitely. Sextant, maybe. I think that I play around with the Sextant in a few different decks and then end up always taking it out anyways.
There's better stuff, I think.
There's better stuff. But out of the Cantrips and Ice Age, these ones, not bad. Good.
Yeah. And back then, without having money to buy some expensive cards, like Barb Sextant was probably like a decent, mana fixer for you.
Yeah, and maybe in some other limited formats too, where you
Yeah,
just
if you
don't have
play just
availability.
Ice Age, heck yeah.
After Ice Age, you and I, Alex,
Dun, dun, dun.
after Ice Age, we had the joy of opening up Homelands packs back when we were children.
We're like, surely it'll get better. Ice Age was meh, and it was huge. Surely they'll put out a good set now. We had Fallen Empires, and Ice Age, and we're due, Steve. We're due.
We were wrong. So I went through the list of Cantrips and Homelands, and I just found 4. I think there are only 4. They're bad. They're bad, folks. Headstone.
They're
1
bad.
colorless, 1 black instant. Remove from the game target card in any graveyard. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So, I mean, there are cards with abilities like this that get a lot of play. There are definitely reasons and times where you want to remove a card from graveyard, but just once, just one.
And
There's too many
mana.
And there's too many. There's too many other things that do this better.
There are like 1 casting cost charms probably, and that's like one of their effects. You know what I mean?
I think there are.
Maybe.
A Mirage. There might be a Mirage or Vision's Charm that doesn't.
And I mean, it's not a completely useless ability if someone's playing like a deck where, they have a big baddie in their graveyard. You could take that out, and so that's good, but like, I don't know. So specific and just once, like you said, and for 2 mana. Spending too much time talking about it already.
Jinx, 1 blue, 1 colorless. Target land becomes a basic land type of your choice until beginning of turn. Don't know why you would do that.
How about permanently?
Why would you? When I say don't know why you do that, I don't know why you run this card. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Prophecy, 1 white, sorcery. Reveal the top card of target opponent's library to all players. If it is a land, gain 1 life. That opponent then shuffles his or her library. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep.
Okay, so that could be a top deck tutor screwer.
Yeah.
Like
there are cases where this could be useful.
What's it cost? It's behind the...
Just 1 white.
Okay, yeah. All right. That's fine. I like that as like the artwork's kind of cool. It has like Izun's shade in the in the eye.
Christopher Rush classic.
Oh.
And then we have Renewal. 2 colorless, 1 green sorcery. Sacrifice a land to search your library for a basic land and put it directly into play. This does not count towards your 1 land per turn limit. Reshuffle your library afterwards. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So Homelands, best cantrips in my opinion. And, we're not working with a lot here. Prophecy and Renewal. We talked about Prophecy because there are so many cards now. Actually, you think of all the cards now that allow your opponent to like put something of interest on top of their deck that they have to wait till like next turn to actually be able to draw.
Mm-hmm.
None of those cards existed when Prophecy was printed, did they? Like none of the Mirage Tutors, Vampiric Tutor didn't exist. I can't remember if Vampiric Tutor goes to your hand. I think it does, but it's
well. So like with Ice Age already now we have like Portent and Brainstorm.
Okay, that's probably what they were thinking of in this meta.
Sylvan Library, but those are about like the only few at this point.
I'm blanking on Vampiric Tutor, which I should not be. Search your library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. You lose 2 life. Yeah. Vampiric Tutor, not into your hand, on top of your library. A card that when it was printed, we were like, what the hell is this bullshit? We have Demonic Tutor. Why are we going to pay 2 life to put a card on top of our library?
Yeah. Short-sighted.
Yeah. Renewal. So Prophecy can, have some use cases. Renewal, I don't know exactly. I'm like, maybe if you're playing your buddy that runs a enchant land deck that likes to enchant all of your lands with horrible enchantments to like do damage to you. And you need to sacrifice a land.
I mean, for this sort of effect in green, there's like 10 other cards that do this. Right?
It also provides you some ramp too. Like one turn ramp because you can tap the land to get some mana from it, but then you have to sacrifice it. But then also you have to pay 3, so no, you can't get ramp out of it.
I'm thinking of it more as it's mana fixing as opposed to ramp specifically. Yeah, it's not putting you ahead like
No, it's
case
not.
wise. It's just getting you the kind of land you want.
Mana fixing.
It's 3
mana fixing, and what's a black enchant land that somebody plays on your land and it does 1 damage to you every
Evil
turn?
presence. Oh, that does damage to you. Cursed land.
Cursed land. Yes, cursed land deals 1 damage to target land's controller during his or her upkeep. This is quality cursed anti-cursed land tech. That's the best thing I can say about
I'll
it.
file that away.
That's the best thing I can say about it.
Yeah, I don't know how the card draw. I don't know how the math works as far as like sacrificing the land and drawing a card. I mean, it's putting you ahead a little bit, right? Because of the card draw. I don't know. I don't see people mentioning this ahead of the other green cards that do similar things.
No, nobody plays renewal. As far as I know. I have not come across it in a single deck. Alliances. This is where things started to get a little bit better, even though you hate alliances because you purchased a box of alliances and split it with BJ and you were very unhappy with what you pulled. It's still no legends, but it's no Urza's block, but it's better than Homelands.
Yes.
It's better than Ice Age, I think.
Yeah.
It's better than Fallen Empires. It started to give me some hope again.
There were some cards you wanted from alliances and still do.
How many did I say? 9. 9 cantrips that I found. There could be more. I could be missing things. We're going to start with a decent one, Arcane Denial. 1 colorless, 1 blue, interrupt. Now an instant. Target counter spell. That spell's caster may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So, provided more counters for you. It was always good when a new counter spell came around for a format. So if you wanted to go more above and beyond just your 4 counter spells, you had another option to add 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
It was also good to see a counter spell that wasn't too blue. So it would be easier to slot into multicolored decks.
Mm-hmm. And it works well with like Black Vice or Underworld Dream style deck.
Yes.
Astrolabe,
I remember this card. I never played it. 3 colorless, 1 colorless, 3 colorless, pay 1 colorless and tap, sacrifice the Labe to add 2 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So, mana fixer, but not a cheap mana fixer.
No.
Bestial Fury is an enchant creature for 2 colorless, 1 red. Draw a card at the beginning of the upkeep of the turn after it comes into play. If a enchanted creature attacks and is a block, it gains trample and gets +4/+0 until end of turn. So, I mean, it's okay, but for 3 mana, Burnout was interesting to me. 1 colorless, 1 red. Counter target interrupt spell if it is blue. Draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. What were you going to do? Were you going to say something?
I bet I'm going to look this up now, but I bet this card has gotten better because they probably changed interrupt to instant, right?
I think every mention of interrupt is now instant everywhere.
Yeah, so that just straight up makes this card better.
I always like to see something you could sideboard in your red deck to counter blue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this card definitely got some play back in the day, and it might still get some play. Carrier Pigeons, not worth it. Carrier Pigeon card should not be forecasting cost. 3 colorless, 1
that's
white,
just
1/1 flying. That's it. And then the cantrip ability. What are you talking about?
Birds know no borders on it, and I like that.
Why then should we?
No, you're right. They missed with the flavor on this. It's a carrier pigeon. Why is it forecasting cost?
I don't know.
They have expensive little vests, front pack. What do you call a backpack on the front?
A front pack.
Breast pack.
I like front pack better. Fevered Strength, 2 colors, 1 black, instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 to end of turn. Then draw your card.
I have a bunch of those.
Foresight, 1 colorless, 1 blue, sorcery. Search your library for any 3 cards, remove them from the game, shuffle your library afterwards. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Guerrilla Warcry, attacking creatures cannot be blocked. This would be better if it was not by only 1 creature this turn. I still don't think it would be too good if that was the case, but maybe it would be too good for a cantrip spell. And then we have Suffocation, 1 colorless, 1 blue. Play only when a red sorcery or instant deals damage to you. Suffocation deals 4 damage to that spell's caster. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. I like the ability to do some damage to somebody out of the blue, in blue.
Yeah, out of the blue.
Don't know that this gets played. One of the more interesting ones to me, though, and it has cool art. Best alliances cantrips, in my opinion. Arcane Denial, of course. Burnout, definitely. Foresight. Let me read this again. Search your library for any 3 cards, remove them from the game. I actually don't know what to do with this card. But I put it here because I'm like, maybe something interesting has come up since Foresight was printed.
I bet.
At the time Foresight was printed, could you interact with anything that you've removed from the game? I know what before I start, I'll let you answer my question.
Okay, well, yeah, I think we're talking about the same thing here, maybe. But to answer your question, no, I don't think so. It was just removed from the game. But now I looked this up immediately. I want to see. I assume it exiles things now, so it does. So there may be ways to interact with these cards you've put into exile now. I mean, I know there are for sure. So it might be some combo with cards in exile.
I just thought to myself, all the wish cards from Judgment, Cunning Wish, Burning Wish, Living Wish.
Oh, okay.
They're choose an instant card you own I think they vary for different cards or for different colors. Blue, I'm looking at Cunning Wish right now. This, for instance, Living Wish is the green one. It's for creatures. I think Burning Wish is sorceries. But you choose a card you own from outside the game, reveal that card, and put it into your hand. Remove Cunning Wish from the game. So the way that outside the game, I mean, the way that term is understood, it's used generally for pulling things from your sideboard. But you could also, use Foresight to remove these from the game and then use a wish card to pull them back in.
I've looked at the wish cards now. I don't think so because exile is just like a completely different zone then. Outside the game is, I think, just sideboard. I might be totally wrong about that.
Maybe this will be a follow-up
In
for
a
next
sanctioned event, a card that's outside the game is one that's in your sideboard.
Okay.
You can't acquire exiled cards because those cards are still considered in one of the game's zones. Yes. And we were going to talk about this more, I think, because we looked at those wish cards at one point. And the way they have changed certain cards, they've made them kind of not do what they used to be intended to do anymore. Because of that same thing. Exile is now considered a zone in the game. It's not really removed from the game anymore.
I'm seeing probably what you just read on magicjudges.org. You can't burning wish for exiled cards. Since the exile zone is a zone in the game, you can no longer wish for those cards.
Yeah.
And many argued that removed from the game was never truly outside the game anyways. Okay, so I don't know what you do with Foresight, but I put it here because it's interesting.
It would also it can also thin your deck late in the game too if you're sick of getting land. You don't want any more land. Like that's one thing. Or maybe like a card that's not useful anymore because of the state of the game. Like you're playing against a creatureless deck.
Yeah, but that's not a good enough reason to include it in my deck, probably. Like I don't want to have a card in my deck that will remove other cards that I think will become useless like regularly. I try not to, you know what I'm getting at. It's better to try to build your deck in a way that it's full of cards that will always be able to do something for you under any circumstance. That's often, difficult, potentially even impossible, but you can get closer. If that's your goal, you can get closer to achieving that. Mirage now. I found 9 cantrips. I think one seems playable, one interesting. Aleatory? How do I pronounce this, Alex? I was going to say alcatory, but I think that's an E.
Yeah, it's an E.
Aleatory.
Aleatory, I think.
Aleatory.
I've only seen it written.
Aleatory contract. Depending on the throw of a dice or on chance. Random.
Aleatory.
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 One colorless, one red. I learned a new word today.
I wonder if it's related to ally or alliance, although it only has one L.
I don't know. Magic the Gathering. Still expanding my vocabulary. Decades later.
Right? Yeah. Oh, it's depending on the throw of a dice or on chance, actually. So it's not about the these dudes teaming up. It's about the act of chance.
Derived from the Latin allie, die. Aleator,
nice.
dice
There we
player. Aleatorus. Aleator.
Learning all the time with Magic the Gathering.
One colorless, one red instant. I like the art.
Yeah.
Play only after defense is chosen. It's one of these coin flipping things. I hate coin flip cards. Flip a coin, target opponent calls heads or tails while coin is in the air. If the flip ends up on your favorite target creature, gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Not a good card. It's like, okay, you may or may not get +1/+1 for one creature, and you get to draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not going in.
I like coin flips because there's no like coins in. It's like the cards. You know what I mean? The game is the cards. There's no coins that come with it. That go with the game. You're like introducing it. And I know you do that with like dice and tokens and stuff, but to me those seem more like related to it, whereas a coin is something that's like really outside of like the realm of the game.
Okay, Alex hates coins. He does not want coins introduced onto the kitchen table. Do not bring coins.
Keep this filthy capitalism out of here.
Do not bring coins to Friday Night Magic. Bone Harvest. 2 colorless, 1 black instant. Put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library. Draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. This is good, right? Compared to all of the other cantrips, like this is good, right? I mean, it has clear use cases.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love that it goes to the top of your library instead of your hand.
I get it.
It's going to take you a couple turns now to get those unless you have some like draw. But yeah, it's okay.
You can get stuff back. Black is full of creatures that you want to sacrifice because they do cool things when you sacrifice them, or black is full of cards you need to sacrifice creatures to. You can get them back.
3.71. An expedient black spell, someone says.
Okay. Yeah, it's 3 mana. It's not. Dazzling Beauty. 2 colorless, 1 white. Play only when defense is chosen. Target unblocked creature is considered blocked. Draw a card. It's a weird way to phrase. So you don't have to have a blocker, but you can play Dazzling Beauty, and it's just considered. Everybody just considers it blocked.
I mean, that could synergize with cards that, like, say something about when something gets blocked.
Then something happens.
And it dies, or then something happens.
It's also good for like a ball lightning or something.
Mm-hmm. I'd really like it if it was like 1 casting cost or 2. Well, maybe not 1, but 2.
3's a lot for that effect. A lot. Flare. We got enough. So Mirage is loaded with these 3 casting cost cantrips. Flare deals 1 damage. Oh, I got a cough on the mic.
All right.
Coughing in the mic. Deals 1 damage. Draw a card. Not good. We've seen that already.
This time it's creature or player, which is slightly better.
Then the Ice Age one?
Yeah, I think one of those up there was just player. Maybe it was the black one, though.
Okay. Jolt, 2 colorless, 1 blue. Here we go again. Tapping stuff, untapping stuff. This one you can choose tap or untap.
Or untap. So that makes it better, but
Innervate versus Infuse was just tap or untap. This is tap. No. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, each one of those could only do one of them.
This can do what Innervate or Infuse could do. But 3 mana, come on, man. I'm playing a blue deck. I'm playing with power. You think I would put a Jolt in my blue card in my blue deck? I don't think so. Ritual of Steel. He looks very nervous.
Steel.
Enchant creature. Draw a card at the beginning of the upkeep of the turn after Ritual of Steel comes into play. Enchant a creature goes +0/+2. He's making a face even like that. This is it?
Yeah.
That's
Plus
all?
0/+2? Come on.
That's all you're giving me?
It's all you're giving me. What did that cost also?
3. 2
3.
colorless, 1
Oh,
white.
God.
Too much. Not good. We got a charm here, Sapphire Charm.
Okay.
1 blue instant. Target player draws a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep, or target creature an opponent controls phases out, or target creature gains flying until end of turn. So okay. Just pay 1, draw a card. It's not as good as an Urza's Bauble.
No.
Soul Rend.
Although it can do 3 things.
It can do other things. Yeah. I'm just assuming most of the time you're not going to use it for the phasing or the flying.
I mean, I don't know. Those aren't bad abilities. Right?
No, they're not bad, but I mean,
flying is a good combat trick to block with or to get over their defenders, and phases out just like neutralizes a creature for the turn.
phases out is good, but you got Vision Charm just coming in the very next set.
Yeah.
It's also 1 blue, and that can phase out your creature or an opponent's creature, I think.
Yeah, these Mirage Charms were like not
The
as
first.
strong as later charms, I feel like, for
Yeah.
sure.
These were the first charms, I believe.
I think so, yeah. And they hadn't really hit their stride on it yet.
Soul Rend. I don't remember this card at all. 1 colorless, 1 black.
Why?
Bury target creature if it is white. Okay, it's a very specific anti-creature tech. And then we got Telemtor's Edict. 1 red, instant. Remove from the game target permanent you own or control. Draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep.
I like this card. We've talked about it briefly before. It's certainly a niche thing, but it's only 1 for starters, which helps, and it plays a neat trick in situations where your opponent doesn't expect it.
These were the 2 most interesting Mirage cantrips, in my opinion. Bone Harvest, I like for multiple reasons. Telemtor's Edict, again, cursed land tech. Anti-cursed land tech. Somebody curses your land, you go, no, I Telemtor's Edict that land. I'm not taking 1 damage every turn. Remove from the game target permanent you own or control. You
It's
could also
good with-
use it.
Sorry, go ahead.
You could also use it when somebody's trying to steal your shit.
Mhm.
Right before they
When
steal
they
your
use
shit.
control magic, you can use it with Reigns of Power. We just talked about Reigns of Power a little bit ago. You swap creatures with each other.
Yeah.
And then I could get rid of one of those creatures if you want to.
It's okay. I don't have like a really good use case for it, but I feel like it could do some interesting things in the right kind of deck. Visions.
Hey.
Or we go back to Telemtors?
Yeah, I'm going back for a second. Threaten is a red spell. Untap target creature, gain control of it until end of turn, and it gains haste until end of turn. So you can steal something, attack with it, Telemtor's Edict it, and destroy it after you've attacked. It'd be kind of
That's
neat.
true.
A
You can
little
use Tom.
complicated.
Yes, but
Yeah.
fun when it happens. When was Threaten first printed? I'm pulling up Threatened real quick. MTG stocks again going very slow. Onslaught. Common.
Act of Treason is a similar card to Threaten too.
Onslaught, 9th edition. It's an uncommon from Onslaught.
And I've talked about this, I think, too, in the context of Corona False God. You could use that to like kill the Corona if you had to, if it swaps to your opponent.
He's being branded by a goblin.
Ouch.
On to Visions. I think I found 4 cantrips. That is true. I did find 4 cantrips and Visions. We got ourselves
some of all of these.
a Feral Instinct, 1 colorless, 1 green. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card at the beginning of the next upkeep. Foreshadow, we talked about this last week because it's in the Turbo Xerox deck and goes really well with Portent when you can order their deck. 1 colorless, 1 blue, name a card. put the top card from target opponent's library into his or her graveyard. If that card is the one named, draw a card. Also good if they're trying to use one of the tutors, again, that puts something on top of their deck. You know what's on their deck on top. You get to put it in the graveyard, draw a card, and then draw another card from the cantrip ability. And then we got Solfatara.
Mm-hmm. We mentioned before also.
I don't remember it. 2 colorless, 1 red. Target player cannot play any land cards this turn. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Okay.
I like this as a Stone Rain alternative.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I was going to say I started to think functionally a Stone Rain, but that's not the right way to state that. It's not functionally a Stone Rain. It can have a Stone Rain-like effect. So a Stone Rain alternative.
It can, on the pace of it's like a pace card kind of.
A tempo card. Yes, yes, yes. Here we go.
So two comments here. Feral Instinct and Solfatara have both been reprinted as functionally better cantrips.
Oh, you sons of bitches.
I know. I have to skip ahead here if I want to mention this. I'm sorry. I know we'll get to these later, but
just go.
Aggressive Urge.
Don't know yet.
That's 1 green, 1 colorless. It's exactly the same as Feral Instinct, only you don't wait until next turn to draw the card.
Okay.
And Turf Wound is the same as Solfatara, but you don't wait to draw the card.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly. We'll see after Visions, I mentioned it already.
Yeah.
After Visions, the draw ability started to occur the same turn you played the spell, not after the next upkeep. Or at the next upkeep. Vampirism. Pretty cool art.
Yeah.
1 colorless, 1 black. Enchant creature. Draw a card at the beginning of the upkeep of the turn after vampirism comes into play. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control. All other creatures you control get -1/-1. We may have talked about this one before.
Maybe.
Hard to get this to work. What would you like? What, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it would be neat if for some reason you had like a bunch of tokens that you wanted to kill.
Yeah, if you wanted to get rid of stuff, yeah.
I don't know if that would really help you though, because I don't know. I'm trying to remember now. I think tokens do technically go to the graveyard, but then cease to exist. So I think they trigger things that go to the graveyard. So
yes,
you're triggering something like that. That could be cool. Obviously, it's good for like buffing up like some real big thing.
I just wish in that case it was an instant. This would be pretty
Yes.
sick if it was an instant. It'd be a much better.
Oh
card.
yeah, I didn't even. Yeah, that I know. Yeah, that I totally skipped past that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's permanent, and then all the creatures you control get -1/-1. I mean, you could build around it. I mean, you could use creatures. You could use other creatures that like regenerate, and then you won't care that they got a little bit smaller because they could still regenerate and be blockers effectively. While the one creature gets bigger. Like I said, with throwaway creatures, something that generates a whole bunch of tokens, so you don't mind, losing a bunch of them to make that one bigger. Just maybe a little indirect, but
yeah, I like the token idea in triggering graveyard triggers. I don't know. I was just looking at something yesterday because I looked this up to see whether or not if a token goes to the graveyard, if it triggers an effect. And I do remember seeing that, yes, that is the case. I don't remember what I was looking up though. So, but what I bring this up to say that I was looking at something, a card to play in a deck where I wanted things to go to my graveyard, and this wouldn't be, terrible. If you have a deck like that and you're generating a lot of tokens and you want them all to hit the graveyard, this could have, that could trigger that effect and buff up a creature at the same time. Pretty big.
Yeah. The art on this makes me feel like I'm like out hiking and it starts to rain and I try to go under some like rock overhang and like this is what I see.
Most interesting Visions cantrip, in my opinion, Foreshadow.
Yeah.
Love it because of all the ways you can sort your opponent's library, all the cards that people often play where they put something on top of their library after they show it to you so you know what's there. Yeah. Weatherlight. 9 cantrips. Mostly playable, in my opinion. This is where we start to get
good cantrips.
This is where we start to get away from the slow trips. We start to get to the cantrips that allow you to draw the card right away. Abeyance, sick card that I want to play 4 of all the time, but I never end up doing it for some reason. Seems like it's underplayed. I don't know. 1 colorless, 1 white, instant. Until end of turn, target player cannot play instants, interrupts, sorceries, or abilities requiring an activation cost. Draw a card. So it's not a time walk plus draw a card, but it's like half a time walk or 3/4 of a time walk plus draw a card.
Yeah, it depends on the deck you're playing against.
I'll say half a time
against
walk.
Some decks, it's like a 0.85 of a time walk.
They still get to draw the card, so I don't want to go above half a time walk.
Okay.
But that's just my personal rating. Yeah. That's my personal
scale. I feel like it's extra good against like passive decks, blue decks, things like that.
Yes. And blue decks especially, because you play it on your turn. If you have something you don't want to be countered,
skills.
If you have something you don't want to be countered and you play in abeyance, they need to have 2 counters and the mana to play it to prevent you from playing what you want to play.
And on their turn, if they're playing something that's like a creatureless deck or a passive deck, like it basically prevents them from doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Boiling Blood, 2 colorless, 1 red. Target creature attacks this turn if able. Draw a card. You know, there might be cases where your opponent has some pesky little 1/1 over there that's doing things that you don't like, and you just want it to attack into your Baloth or something.
Or, I mean, even bigger. Maybe they have like a 4/4 and you have a 5/5. Like,
yeah.
I don't. This is getting better than some of those, red ones we saw previously.
Yeah. Use this guy to feed your Sengir.
Yeah. That's
use this guy to smash somebody's Colossus Asardia into my Saber Ants, and I generate 9.
You could use it in Commander to like make someone else's trample creature attack.
Oh yes,
fire.
It becomes much better in a multiplayer game.
Yeah,
you can, have one opponent attack another.
Yeah, then you're like hurting 2 people at once. Yeah.
Disrupt, 1 blue. She's in a beekeeper outfit.
Yeah.
Counter target instant, interrupt, or sorcery spell, unless its caster pays an additional 1, draw a card. So this is a force spike, but not against creatures or artifacts.
Okay.
And you draw a card.
Mm-hmm. What's the word I'm looking for? Faraday cage? Is
that is a thing.
Yeah. Like a beekeeper Faraday cage.
Beekeeper Faraday cage, but only around her head. She needs to be totally covered.
Maybe they're just like mind bees, they just attack your mind.
That's possible. Flux, 2 colorless, 1 blue, sorcery. Each player chooses and discards any number of cards, then draws that many cards. Draw a card.
Forgot about that card.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Interesting in multiplayer.
Underworld Dreams deck, or something that's something that harms your opponent if they draw cards.
Yeah, I could make use of it, but it would penalize my opponent.
Gaia's Blessing, 1 colorless, 1 green, sorcery. Target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from his or her graveyard into his library. So he brings stuff back. Draw a card.
This in my commander deck.
If Gaia's Blessing is put into your graveyard from your library, shuffle your graveyard into your library. This is a sick card.
Yeah. I read the bottom of it wrong first. It's only if it is put into your graveyard from your library.
Yes.
Is the bottom part. Yeah.
So if it's discarded or something, you don't get to do this.
Correct. Yeah. The first time I read it, I thought it would like basically just work like that. Like you would you'd shuffle the cards, draw a card, and then this would be in your graveyard, so it would shuffle back into your then you would shuffle your whole graveyard into your library. But that does not work like that.
We would see it in a lot of the pre-modern parfait decks, the land tax scroll rack decks.
Oh, okay.
That really just had usually 1 win condition and, lots of removal in the form of disenchants and swords to plowshares and stuff like that. And they would just rely on Gaia's Blessing to allow them to play their swords to plowshares multiple times. Maybe 7 or 10 or 13 swords in your deck instead of just 4, because you put 3 guys' blessings in. You have all of a sudden way more than 4 swords essentially to deal with your opponent's creature.
So mana efficient, you know?
So mana efficient, yeah. And yes, you don't put them in your hand, you put them back into your library, but with the Squirrelwax land tax combo, you're digging so deep through your library, drawing so many cards all the time, you get to them. But alas, no more. Land tax is banned in Premodern. Guided Strike, 1 colorless, 1 white, instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn, draw a card. I love striped bears, Alex. It's just a bear. It's just a 2/2 bear, but you draw a card.
Too expensive.
I know, but it's good. I like it.
Cool art. Cool stripes.
Cool art. And Mindstone and Phyrexian Furnace, I think both are pretty good. Mindstone's a pretty cool little mana rock. Tap down 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Play the ability as a mana source. Or pay 1 colorless, tap, sacrifice Mindstone, draw a card. I don't know. I put these in with the cantrips. They're almost like a new class. I don't know if people consider them cantrips or not, but they're artifacts that then have the ability to they're artifacts with real repeatable effects, but you can also convert them to a cantrip when you don't want their effect anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if other people consider them cantrips or not, but
it's good enough for me.
And Phyrexian Furnace, tap to remove the bottom card of target player's graveyard from the game. Great graveyard tech, anti-graveyard tech. If you're playing against somebody who doesn't have a graveyard deck, you say, okay, who cares then? I play the Furnace for 1 mana, and then I pay 1 more mana, sack it, draw another card. Most interesting Weatherlight cantrips, in my opinion, in a new category with these artifacts. Abeyance, Guy's Blessing. I do love the striped bears, Alex. It's a bear. It's a bear. That's all I have to say. Mindstone, Phyrexian Furnace. I think Weatherlight's coming in strong here, just with Abeyance and Guy's Blessing.
Yeah. Those are probably the two of the best cantrips we've seen so far.
Yeah. And even with the artifacts that I consider cantrips, even if other people don't care. This is my show. I make the rules. Tempest.
All right.
I found 9 cantrips. I think these are mostly playable. Dismiss is a counterspell to let you draw a card. So it's 2 blue for the counterspell and then 2 colorless for the draw the card. It's kind of expensive. I mean, it's expensive for a counterspell. I don't know that I'd put this in my deck if I was playing in a format that allowed a lot of other counterspells, but it's not a bad card.
No, it's not bad yet. I don't know if I want to start considering it a cantrip because of how high the casting cost is, but that's just me being nitpicky, I guess.
No, that is true. Once you get up to 4, you're right. We've seen a lot. I've showed a lot so far that are 3. We saw those a lot in Ice Age. And when people do say cantrip, they often refer to 1 or 2 casting cost cards. But those are there are definitely 3 casting cost cantrips in Ice Age, right? Those are cantrips.
Yeah, I guess.
But you're right. Once you start getting to 4, and it doesn't fit with the flavor of cantrip either, which is a weak spell combined with the card draw.
Yeah, this is more like a full strength spell combined with
it is
the card draw.
Dismiss has been dismissed. Exit from the
talking
list.
about those still. I wasn't even aware of this spell, this card, and I like it. It can be used in a deck where you have you're not mana hungry, where you have an abundance of mana, lands that produce multiple mana per tap, that sort of thing.
The opposite of the Turbo Xerox deck. Like a blue Tron deck, a blue Urza's land deck. Frog Tongue, 1 blue, not 1 blue, 1 green, enchant creature. When Frog Tongue comes into play, draw a card, enchant a creature, can block creatures with flying.
I love Frog Tongue. I have some Frog Tongues.
What did you say about Frog Tongue before the show started?
Huh?
What did you say to me about Frog Tongue before the show started?
I just said I love it. I might still put it even in my commander deck. I put Spider Climb in, and this doesn't give them the toughness boost, but you get the card draw. And I need a little more card draw in my deck, I think.
I'm actually considering Frog Tongue too. And I was going through this list. I thought maybe I put this in my deck because I'm worried about one of my major weaknesses when it comes to creatures are flying creatures. I have very few flying creatures, very few ways to deal with
Yeah.
flyers.
So yeah, I think it'd be a good fit in there.
Gallantry. There's Miri just like chilling on the ground.
It's like, give me some more shade.
Maybe not chilling. Maybe Miri's unconscious.
I think
and
so.
Hannah's protecting an unconscious Miri. That's
From a
probably what's
giant
happening.
bug.
Yeah, Miri's probably not chilling, like right in front of the giant bug. Giant bug, the giant Nantuko, or a Phyrexian something. I don't know. Bashed Miri.
Hmm.
She's been bashed. Hannah swoops in. Very gallant. Target blocking creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Draw a card.
I don't hate this.
I don't hate it either, but I'm not going to play it.
It's a good combat trick, but
Yeah.
yeah. If it was one white, I'd play it.
Interdict. This looks like whatever this is. Is this what was also like looming over Hannah here? You see
Oh,
the claw? The
I
claw-like
don't
thing?
know, maybe.
Here's the claw-like thing. I don't know what this is in Tempest. Somebody who knows the lore better than we do. Tell me what these creatures are.
I feel like I've seen stuff like that before, but slivers haven't shown up yet, right? I don't think we have slivers in Tempest.
I don't think they showed up until Stronghold.
Yeah, something like that.
I could be wrong, though. I'm just thinking Sliver Queen was in Stronghold.
Mm.
It is
Yeah.
possible that they introduced some smaller slivers before they introduced the queen, but I don't think that's the case. Interdict, 1 colorless, 1 blue, interrupt, target, artifact, creature, enchantment, or land ability requiring an activation cost. So
There are slivers in Tempest, Steve.
Okay. This might be a sliver.
Might be a sliver. I don't know.
Abilities of that permanent cannot be played again this turn. Draw a card. So counters activation abilities. Activated abilities. Reality Anchor. 1 colorless, 1 green, instant. Target creature loses shadow until end of turn. Draw a card. Not really playable.
That's like a draft format card.
Exactly. Not playable outside of draft. Same with Shadow Rift. Well, no, not same with Shadow Rift, because you get more use out of giving your creature shadow than causing creatures to lose shadow in less limited environments. So Shadow Rift better than Reality Anchor. Also, like one blue and Reality Anchor 1 colorless, 1 green. Come on, man. What are you doing to green there? Why are you doing green dirty like that?
No, I like Shadow Rift for 1 blue. I saw this card earlier when I was looking through a cantrip list. And I mean, that's just a great way to, make a creature unblockable for 1 blue.
That's actually not bad, yeah. Stun. 1 colorless, 1 red. Target creature cannot block this turn. Draw a card. Typical cantrip. Twitch. 2 colorless, 1 blue. Tap or untap. Target artifact, creature, or land. Draw a card. We've seen a lot of stuff like that. Whispers of the Muse. We talked about this before, Alex, in an earlier episode. I liked Whispers of the Muse. 1 blue. Buyback, 5 colorless. Draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was like, why? Then I thought about it. Read some other people's takes. Yeah, you're right. If you're playing a passive blue deck with a long game, a lot of mana, you're going to have some times where you won't have anything you're doing with your mana that turn. If you can sink it into a card like this that will let you draw another card, then it's definitely
better than nothing. Yeah. My question with this is, when people play it, do they play 4 of them? And if so, do they use some of those early on without the buyback and then use some of them later in the game with the buyback? Or do they just save it the whole game? You think a hybrid?
I think so. That's how I would do it. Let me clarify something with buyback. Does the buyback have to be played the first time you play the spell?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So if it's sitting in your graveyard, you don't just get to like in a later turn in the future when you have 5 mana around.
No,
you
that's a
get to
different
buyback.
thing that I'm
That's a
blanking
different
on
thing.
now. I forget.
I thought so too. So that's how I would play it. It would be turn. It would be situational, based on the turn. Sometimes I'd do whatever I could with the card when I had it in my hand.
Yeah. I guess you're not going to not use it to draw a card if you need to draw a card early on.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, yeah.
Tempest, my favorite from Tempest. Frog Tongue, Whispers of the Muse.
Nice.
Is there anything I'm missing? I feel like we just talking about this. There might have been one that I liked more. No,
Right.
it was the Dismiss, but
Dismiss.
our discussion was about how it's not really a cantrip. You're right. It's been strucken from the list.
Just
It's
go back
been
for a second.
strict.
Interdict is just for abilities that require an activation.
An
cost,
activation cost. It's very limited.
right? Artifact, creature, enchantment, or land ability requiring an activation cost. Okay. I like what it does because it's a real surprise to people that don't expect it.
That's right. Nobody's going to expect you to play an interdict.
No, I mean what the card does specifically. You know, there's not a lot of cards that counter activated abilities. You know,
Just
but I agree, it's a gamble just to have that as a base card in your deck, and you don't know what other decks you're going to be playing against.
yeah, you got to play it against your buddy who always runs that deck that's full of things with activation costs that you can't stand. I'm pulling up Stifle because I always forget exactly what Stifle does.
Ruins a good time.
It facilitates the Dreadnought. Yeah, okay. Counter target activated or triggered ability for just one blue. So it's a much better interdict, right?
Yeah, you don't draw the
Yes.
card, but it also works on triggered abilities and not just activated abilities. Plus, interdict specifies all the categories, and this
Yes.
is just open-ended. Okay.
So frog tongue it up, people. Frog tongue, Whispers of the Muse. Do those two
Let me
things.
get frog tongue.
Stronghold, I saw 4 cantrips. Bandage. I like the art.
Yeah,
One
art's
white,
cool. I
prevents
was gonna
damage.
ask if it was Rebecca Guai before I looked at the bottom, and it is.
It is.
The lady's arms were a giveaway.
Yes. Prevented damage, draw card, Leap. Alex loves Leap.
I like Leap too. Leap's a good one.
1 blue. Target creature gains flying time to turn, draw a card. Provoke. Untap target creature you do not control. That creature blocks this turn if able. Draw a card.
I think I've mentioned that card a little while ago.
It's something else to put in your imp deck. Something else to feed your Sangir.
That might have been in my Stronghold commons that I bought.
Actually, it wouldn't be that good to feed your Sangir because it'd have to be another flyer too. Like they have to have a flyer because it says this blocks the turn if able. Anyways,
It's good though with trample.
I don't know why I have Dismiss down here again.
Oh,
Was I drunk? Wall of Blossoms. 1 colorless, 1 green. Summon wall 0/4. When Wall of Blossoms comes into play, draw a card. Walls cannot attack. This is a cantrip, right?
yeah. Why not? Usually it's not creatures, but hey.
My favorite from Stronghold. And if you tell me it's not a cantrip, again, I don't care. I make the rules my show. Low casting cost, draws a card. This is a really good card for mid-range decks that don't start off real fast, but it still allows you to get something down on the board right away to block their goblin lackey that's coming straight at your face. You got to block that lackey. If you don't, you're done.
Knights and soldiers and all their 2/2s and elvish archers and shit that are getting popped down.
It can block 1/1s. It can block 2/2s. It can block 3/3s, Alex.
You block a 3/2.
It could even block a 4/4 once. Exodus. I didn't see any cantrips.
Oh,
People
okay.
out there, listeners, if you know of any cantrips in Exodus, leave them in the comments. Tell me what they are. I see none. Urza Saga. There are none? ? I still see none. Viewers, listeners, if you know of cantrips in Urza Saga, what am I missing? Urza's Legacy. I saw only one. Multani's Acolyte. 2 green, 2/1, summon elf. When Multani's Acolyte comes into play, draw a card. I like that. I like that I pay 2 mana to play a 2/1 and I get to draw a card, but then it has echo.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Eek.
So if you want to use it as a sacrificial blocker and you'll draw the card, that's pretty good. But if not, I don't know if I want to pay the echo cost for that to keep it around.
It's going to slow me down. I'm trying to ramp up and play things above curve with my green deck, and you're making me pay to keep the Acolyte around.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in a haste deck, get one attack out of it.
Yeah. Don't know. I don't love it.
She's doing too well.
No.
I feel like she's being taken over by nature.
Or I was going to say maybe she's doing better than we
Or
realize,
yeah.
and she's one with the earth, and we're not.
Yeah. Now she's going to meld into the plants and vines soon, and
Happens to us all. Urza's Destiny. There are none. I saw no cantrips. So that's it. That's the end of my review of cantrips from Ice Age to Urza's. If
it
anybody
started
out
off
there,
slow like Ice Age, but then the end was quick.
if anybody out there knows of any that we missed, let us know. Tell us in the comments. What's your favorite cantrip from Ice Age to Urza's? The Bobble's is good. Frog Tongue's good. We're going to go on to the next segment now, Alex.
Okay.
This is segment 2. I'm calling this segment Commons that Alex purchased from Exodus recently.
Oh.
I think. Because you had a few cards you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, I bought a stack of commons and uncommons online that were from like one vendor that were all really cheap, and they were pretty much all from Stronghold and Exodus, and I mentioned some of those Stronghold ones. There's a few Exodus ones. These are not like the best commons from Exodus or anything like that. They're just a couple of things that were all 20 cents, and I was like, I'll play around with them.
Something that caught your eye, some cards you want to brew with.
Yeah.
Affordable budget brews.
Yeah. We'll start off with maybe two of the worst ones.
Okay.
Then we'll get better from there.
We're starting bad.
This card kind of sucks. It's called Cunning.
This is how you hook the viewers. You start terribly.
Terribly. They have to wait to get to the good ones at the end.
Yeah. Honey, Merfolk, a creepy Merfolk.
So this is 1 blue, 1 colorless enchantment. The creature gets +3/+3, and if it attacks or blocks, you sacrifice the enchantment Cunning at the end of turn.
Very weird.
So not too great. It's rated like 2.1 on Gatherer. I was like, maybe I could do something with this with the graveyard interaction. Something like an enchantment deck where I'm benefiting from enchantments going to the graveyard. And then after I ordered it, I was like, that was stupid. It's not going to be very good at all. But in the comments on Gatherer, someone reassured me with two suggestions that I thought were sort of interesting. And this one applies to the card Tracker. They said this could be good on creatures that don't attack or block, but do like the combat fighting thing like Tracker does. Mm-hmm. You'll make him bigger. He's 5/5 now. And when you tap him, he does 5 damage to stuff.
I got another one for you, Alex.
What's that?
Never going to do this, but just if you're looking for things that you could maybe do with this card that's not very good. Man, MTG stocks, you're killing me.
Is it killing you?
How am I supposed to do a show like this?
Go to Gatherer or Scryfall. What's the card?
Reprisal, Alex.
Oh, Reprisal.
You play the Cunning on your opponent's creature to give it +3/+3. And then you reprisal it because reprisal only destroys target creature with power 4 or greater. So if you want to get rid of their 1/1, if you want to get rid of their 2/2, if you want to get rid of their 3/3, all you got is a reprisal and a Cunning in your hand. You're good.
Only takes 4 mana and 2 cards.
You're good to go.
On your way.
We're rocking and rolling, baby.
The other thing they mentioned, though, was Iridescent Drake. If you don't mind pulling that card up.
This is a Visions card?
Urza's Destiny.
Shit.
He's 1 blue, 3 colorless, a 2/2 flying Drake. And when he or she comes into play, return target enchant creature card from a graveyard to play enchanting Iridescent Drake.
Okay. So it'll be 5/5 for one turn until you attack or block with it.
Yeah, but whenever you've used your cunning, then you cast another Iridescent Drake, the cunning comes back. If you used a cunning on something other than the Iridescent Drake earlier, whenever you cast your Iridescent Drake, the cunning comes back onto it.
Yeah, but just for one turn, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
You can keep recycling those cunnings out of your graveyard with Iridescent Drakes.
Good.
That was the worst one. We'll get better from here, Steve.
A cunning Iridescent
only
Drake deck.
15 cents, 20 cents, something. Okay. The next card.
Cunning Drake deck. Go. Next card.
The next card. Aethertide. Aether.
What do you think I am, Alex? You think you're talking to an idiot? You think I don't know how to spell Aether?
Sorry.
Just because I asked you how to pronounce Aleator earlier doesn't mean I'm totally incompetent.
Aleatory.
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 Okay. Either what?
Aethertide.
Aethertide.
Aethertide. Okay.
Exodus again. Uncommon. Blue, 1 blue and X. Choose and discard X creature cards. Return X creature card to their owner's hand. Okay, so it's a limited recall. It's a creature specific recall.
Yeah,
but just X instead of 2X. That's not bad.
Yeah, you can bounce several things. In a creature in a deck where you want to stock your graveyard with creatures, black blue, obviously, nice way to do that. So I ordered this 20 cents, and they came. Then I looked online because I didn't look this card up before I bought it. I was just like, oh, that looks so neat. I'll buy it for 20 cents. And then I looked it up. I read the comments under this card, and someone mentions Turbulent Dreams.
Oh, does it have a strictly better?
Strictly better.
Turbulent
Dreams.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Better art too.
Better art. 2 blue.
Shout out to Wayne England. Okay.
It's 2 blue, sorcery. As an additional cost to play Turbulent Dreams, discard X cards from your hand, return X target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. So it doesn't have to be creature cards from your hand.
I'm just looking up the price real quick.
Of
Turbulent Dreams. I'm curious.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be creature cards that you discard from your hand, and it doesn't have to be creature cards that you bounce back. It can be other permanents. And then it's only 2 blue instead of blue X. So
it's pretty sick.
A lot better. And it's cheap too.
67 cents.
I mean, it's 3 times the price of Aethertide, but
yeah. Nobody plays it. As an additional cost, so I pay 2 blue, and I discard X cards from my hand. Return X target non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Interesting.
Yeah. So I'd have fun. I could play with this. Now, this is a rare. This one's a rare as opposed to, I think that was a common. But it doesn't matter because it's cheap.
This would be really good for your group hug deck too, because you could use it to benefit yourself, but you could also use it to be nice to somebody that you wanted to be nice to at a time by putting permanents back into their hand.
Mm-hmm.
I love the art too. I like this card.
Good. I'm glad you like it.
Turbulent Dreams.
Turbulent Dreams, yeah. But Aethertide only because it led me to Turbulent Dreams. Spike Cannibal is an uncommon. This one was a few cents more, I think. It was not as cheap as the others. And we talked about this during our Spike segment.
I love cannibals.
Huh?
I love cannibals.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't? I mean,
you said Spike?
Spike Cannibal.
Okay.
Black, 1.
I remember this.
Yeah. When it comes into play, it comes into play with 1+1/+1 counter on it. And when it comes into play, move all +1/+1 counters from all creatures onto Spike Cannibal. So in a multiplayer game with, however many things are going on that have +1/+1 counters on them, you just steal them from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. And I kind of think it's a decent spec maybe for cards that might be popular in the future that involve counters.
Maybe write up a Reddit post. Say,
Yeah.
I'm specking on Spike Cannibal. I recommend putting $500 of capital into Spike Cannibal at whatever price it is now. What price is it?
I want to say it's under $1, right?
Hit under $1. 29-cent market price. Your plan
Okay,
is to then sell
cheap.
Spike Cannibal when it goes above 99 cents, lose all the money on shipping, on damage that occurs in the mail, returns, all the time spent. You'll make like 32 cents an hour.
No, I think it's fun though.
It is fun.
Look on my
I'm making fun of certain spec posts that I see.
Oh, yeah, I
on
know.
Reddit, not of you. No.
I
If you had $500,000 to invest right now, invest in Spike Cannibal. Spike Cannibal buyout.
All right, next card. Keeper of the Dead. This is also an uncommon.
Keeper of the Dead.
Keeper of the Dead. Keeper of the Dead is a wizard, black, 1/2. Pay a black and tap, destroy target non-black creature. Play this ability only if their controller has at least 2 fewer creature cards in their graveyard than you have in yours. So obviously a niche card if you're playing, a heavy creature or some type of graveyard deck, but lots of black graveyard decks, talk about it all the time. And now you have a card that can just destroy any non-black creature.
Mm-hmm. That is sick art too.
Art's cool. Yeah.
In the illustrator, just has one name. I love it.
Yeah. I didn't even look at the art too closely until you said that and zoomed in on it now, but it is good.
I mean, it's pretty. This is a pretty cool card.
Yeah. But that's a cheap uncommon. It's not going to make it into a lot of decks or anything, but I might use it in something.
Mm-hmm. Limited Royal Assassin.
Another card. This one, I thought of you because we were talking about shadow creatures. Douthy Jackal. Douthy? What do we say?
I say Douthy, but I've never heard other people
Douthy
pronounce it.
Marauder. Douthy. That's what I said. Douthy Jackal.
Yeah. 2 colors, 1 black. 2/1 shadow. 2 black, sacrifice Douthy Jackal. Destroy target blocking creature.
So what I think is cool about this is, I mean, it's decently costed already. For 3, it's a 2/1 shadow creature, unblockable. It wouldn't be the best, but its ability, it doesn't say that it has to be, it doesn't say what has to be blocking it. So you can just have this sitting here doing anything or doing nothing and use it to destroy a blocking creature, whether that be in a multiplayer game, 2 other people attacking each other.
It would be very interesting, in a multiplayer game. I often don't think about multiplayer, but it would be cool in a multiplayer game. In a single player game, especially if I'm playing Shadow deck, I'm not going to be dealing with people blocking my shit. Anyways.
Well,
so
if all your stuff is shadow, but you might have some shadow and some non-shadow stuff.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. What's the card we just read that turns something into a blocking creature?
One of those cantrips, or a red cantrip or something.
You could use that. It was a white one.
Okay.
I think. So yeah, you could turn something into a blocking creature with a spell.
I like the idea of this card in a multiplayer game, mostly.
Yeah. It'd be pretty fun. Art's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I thought was very interesting about this card is it is a summon hound, and then the flavor quote says, "All Douthy are jackals, regardless of breed." So I said to myself, I wonder what its creature status is now. It is now a creature, Douthy Jackal. It is no longer a hound.
That seems to be the opposite of what they typically do, though, right? Haven't they been taking very specific card types and kind of generalizing them into like human or soldier? And here they went from a generalized card type and made it more specific again.
Yeah, I think so. I think because jackals didn't exist before, they tried to make everything like a hound or a dog, and
Yeah,
then they separated it into specific like jackals and
because jackal pup
yeah.
is not a jackal now, right? It's
I think it
probably
is now.
a hound or a dog. Where are you looking this information
It
up,
is
Alex?
it's a jackal now.
What?
And the first time it was it was printed, it was a hound.
But are all jackals dogs?
Are you asking in real life?
No, I'm asking in Magic the Gathering.
No, they're just jackals. They don't count
They're
as
just
dogs.
jackals. So there's no dog type. There's no hound type. It's jackal type.
There might be outside of those, like if there's like phantom hounds or
Okay.
something like that. I have to look up MTG creature types. But they
Well, now I can't put jackal pup in my red dog deck. I have to put it in my
you have a red dog deck.
deck.
It's like the Clifford deck.
The what deck?
Clifford, the big red dog.
Oh no. I wish Clifford was a magic card.
It could be. Maybe they'll do a crossover with a children's book Secret Lair. We'll get like Clifford, like 9/9 trample. If Clifford attacks, like the next turn he doesn't untap.
Dog, previously hound, is a creature type used for cards that depict carnivorous domestic canids closely related to the gray wolf, as well as sapient dog folk. Their appearance is bred in many varieties. For gaming reasons, wolves, jackals, and foxes are kept separate. Okay, dogs appear in all colors.
Okay.
So jackal pup can't be in my red dog deck. It's then a jackal.
You really have a red dog deck? Are
No.
you doing a bit?
No, I don't have a red dog deck. I had no idea that they didn't just roll jackals and fox. Well, maybe I can understand why they didn't. I don't know if I would have assumed they had rolled wolves and foxes into dogs. But I thought jackals. Why would I think jackals then?
I don't know. Like later on, there's more creatures, so they kind of have to, it's easier to have a fox category and a wolf category, etc. later on in the game because there are more of each of them. Previously, they were probably trying to keep everything. They only had 6 different canid type creatures, and they were making them all hounds.
But didn't they start too specific though, and then generalize at some point, or am I inventing this generalization stage that never occurred?
I think this happened or did not happen with different creature types. You know what I mean? It depends on which ones you're looking at specifically.
Dog, previously hound. We need to do a 10-part episode on the great
Waiuli wolf
creature
was
type
summon
update.
wolf in Arabian Nights. It says summon wolf on it.
And then what? I thought that at some point they was changed to something more general.
I don't know what it is now. I have to look. No,
We'll get into this.
That one's a wolf still.
We will get into this later on our 10-part episode, 10-part series on the great creature type update.
I do know some of them did change like that, specifically dog type. Yeah. What's the jackal from Arabian Nights? Her jackal.
Her jackal.
It was a jackal from Arabian Nights. So it should still be a jackal.
Okay.
Correct?
Okay, then.
We got to the bottom of that.
Okay, now I know. I didn't know, but now I know.
Those were my cards from Exodus. Also, Robe of Mirrors. I don't know if that's worth talking about at all. It's 1 blue. Enchanted creature cannot be the target of spells or abilities.
You love cards like that.
Which is pretty good. There's several different options, though. We've mentioned Alexi's Cloak before, which you can play as an instant. And it has...
This is hilarious. I was gonna say he looks so emo. I was like, I was gonna go, don't look at me, but then look at the flavor text. Does this make me look fat?
It's so weird. Someone commented on that card that the next edition art was a bigger improvement.
If Boy George was a Magic the Gathering card.
It does have an 80s pop vibe to it. Uh, but it's like a side grade or like a different niche version of some of these cards that work like that. I'll probably use. Let me look at this 10th edition. Oh yeah, the 10th edition art's way better.
Let me do
Some
that.
guy making a bunch of phantom versions of himself. See that?
I like the Exodus one. This guy's not emo enough. Okay. Okay, Arcanus. Okay, Arcanus.
Hey, and
the
Arcanus
Omnipotent.
the Omnipotent quote. Cool.
Okay. That's the end of segment 2.
That was the end of
Alex's cheap cards from Exodus that he purchased recently. We're going to move on to segment 3. It is our final segment of the day, our final segment of every episode so far in 2023, has been the Old Man Magic Commander Corner, where Alex and I add a card or 2 or 3, sometimes 4, to our first ever Commander decks. They are old frame Commander decks only, because that's pretty much what we have. We have old frame cards. I'm going to pull up our Mox field, where our decks currently reside. I'm going to start with my deck. My deck is called The Pump, named after a famous scene from Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's named after the pump, the feeling you get in the gym when you're lifting heavy and feeling good. My commander is Jacques Levert. It's a green creature horde deck. I'm trying to get up to 40 creatures. You can see that I'm just at 30 creatures right now. The idea is to play a lot of green creatures, to pump them with Jacques Levert, to make them bigger with Keza, to add all sorts of different pump spells to make my creatures big, Berserk, Giant Growth, stuff like that, to make them trample sometimes with cards like Elvish Herder. I'm also generating tokens, green tokens that I can pump again with Jacques Levert, Keza, other things. Token generators I got on my deck, Haze on Tamar, Rith the Awakener, and others. Today, Alex, I'm going to add a card that I just saw yesterday, and I wrote it down on my list, and I say I'm going to add this card. And right now, I don't even remember what it is. I don't remember what it does. I remember the name of the card, but I just saw it yesterday, and I added it to the list, and I've already forgotten what it does. So this will be a surprise to me, too. Heart Warden.
Familiar. Sounds familiar.
I think it might be a manimal of some type. Where did you go, Heart Warden? You went right there. Heart Warden. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1/1 elf. Tap to add 1 green mana to your mana pool. I found Heart Warden when I was looking for cantrips, because I was searching all the different sets for the words draw a card, the phrase draw a card. I was like, oh, great. I wanted to add another manimal to my commander deck. Here's a manimal that, yes, it's 2 green instead of just, 2 mana instead of just 1 mana. But if it comes later in the game and you no longer need these manimals for ramp, you can also sacrifice the Warden to draw a card. So
Right
it's got utility early game. It's got utility late game. I'm going to add another card, Alex. This is another card that I saw yesterday.
Oh.
I wrote down on my list, and I have since forgotten what it did. So I'll, again, relearn.
We talked about this before.
Okay, this is the third time I've seen the card then. I keep forgetting. Nature's Resurgence, 59 cents. I believe this is an enchantment, right?
Oh, I thought you were looking at Elvish Warhounds.
No. Nature's Resurgence. I did say I wanted to add creatures, but this is an enchantment. I can still hit my 40 creature mark, I think. I missed this card when we did our episode many episodes ago on card advantage in green, or card draw in green. Nature's Resurgence is a sorcery, not an enchantment, a sorcery from Weatherlight. 2 colorless, 2 green. Each player draws a number of cards equal to the number of creature cards in his or her graveyard. So if I have a creature horde deck and I want to get some card draw abilities into my green creature horde deck, this seems like a pretty decent way to do it. It's a cheap card. I'm assuming I'm going to have more creatures in my graveyard than my opponents. It's also something in here that might make the rest of the board happy too. My opponent, people maybe add a little group hug action to my commander deck.
No, you're right. With all your creatures, I mean, it'll be a later game play, obviously, but seems good to me.
I'm also considering Frog Tongue.
Mm.
I have Nature's Resurgence. I have Collective Unconscious. 2. 4 colorless, 2 green. Draw a card for each creature you control. One or both of these might get scary. Like if the game is really long, I might end up drawing like 40 cards. Not that many, but like more cards than I would really be able to play out. We'll see what happens. How many cards are in this deck right now? Playtest. Library 89. Commander. I always forget if this includes my commander because my commander is over here in the command zone. So are they including that in this number? Or am I at 90 already?
I feel like you're at 90.
91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97. I'm already at 97 cards.
How?
I'm not going to reach my 40. My 40 creatures. Because today I just reached 31 and I have 3 more spots. Maybe I'll do some trimming from other areas in upcoming weeks. Or maybe I just won't hit 40 creatures. Maybe I'll target 35 creatures. We'll see what happens. Let's move on to Alex's commander deck.
Can you give me a card count?
Yes. Let me find your deck real quick.
Okay. Mud hole.
Group Mud. Commander EDH. Last updated 7 days ago. That was last Sunday, Alex, when we added new cards to our commander decks during episode 49 of the Old Man Magic podcast. Alex wants a card count. And we're giving Alex what he wants. 56 plus commander is 57, plus 7 in your hand, 64 cards.
And I need to add like 30 lands still. Wow. Okay. So I'm almost out of room.
That's why I'm so far ahead of you, because I had my land day.
Yeah. And I have like 3 lands in there already. So I'm figuring I'll probably need to add about 29 or 30 more.
What are you adding to your group
Okay.
hug deck, Alex, with
Well,
Corona?
first, let's
False
take
God
something
as your
out.
Commander.
Get rid of that pesky old Oath of Druids. We've gone away from the the group hug direction and more into a defensive pillow fort direction. Oath of Druids is probably not really helping me any longer.
See you later, buddy. Oath of Druids has been stricken.
Next, you might ask me, Steve. You might say, Alex, you have a 5-color deck, but you don't really have any red cards in there. Your Wheel of Fortune. What the heck else?
And you got that
Brand.
stupid elephant card.
Yep, the stupid elephant card. You might ask why do I have red in here if I'm not using any red cards? Well, today I will add some spikes to my Pillow Fort deck with 2 red cards and possibly a white card. I would like to add Fling. You know
I
this
considered
card, right?
Fling as well. Yeah, I've considered Fling for the same reason that I considered Frog Tongue, where I'm worried about my ability to deal with flying creatures. I'm like, oh, if I've got a bunch of creatures, maybe I'll just put in a Fling and I can 2-for-1 somebody. I don't love doing that, but I could. If there's a problematic flyer, I could fling one of my ground creatures at it. So that was my plan for Fling, but I haven't put it in yet. Fling has been flung right into Alex's group hug deck. We're going to go to the OG Stronghold. 39 cents. Fling has been added.
I will also add Mog Maniac.
Mog Maniac we talked about in a recent episode, right?
Did we?
Is this the one that if it receives damage, it does damage? Yes. I can't remember the context. Mog Maniac is 1 colorless, 1 red, 1/1. Whenever Mog Maniac is dealt damage, it deals an equal amount of damage to target opponent. Shaman and Core. We were talking about
okay.
Those decks where you can move around damage, pairing it with Mogmaniac. I
Oh
believe,
yeah.
I believe.
So yeah, I can use that with my Spirit Encore. Then that will be good. But yeah, he'll act as a deterrent. I think having a creature out like that, and I'm not using any direct damage. So this will, this and the fling let me kind of like reach out with my creature blocking to do some damage.
No fireball. Shocking.
No fireball. No lightning bolt in here.
Shocking.
I want to put a lightning bolt in. I probably should, but and I'm not doing counter spells either. I have 5 colors, and I'm trying to, keep it thin. So I'm staying away from countering. I'm staying away from direct damage. I'm doing it in a different way, I think. Yeah.
Okay, 2 additions this week. Mogmaniac and the other one.
I'm really full.
Fling.
I'm gonna probably have to take a couple more cards back out, I think.
I might end up doing the same thing too. Spirit Encore, Wild Art. If Meatloaf was melded with
Stretched, skinny meatloaf man.
Meatloaf plus David Bowie.
Yeah,
70s
there you
era
go.
David Bowie. The Thin White Duke.
Bowie.
Meatloaf as the Thin White Duke. Okay. Alex, that brings us to the end of episode 50. It's been a great run so far. We look forward to 50 more episodes. We are killing it. As of today, we're at 89 subscribers. We're approaching 100. We will get there soon. After 100, what comes next? 500, 1,000, 100,000, 50 million. Who knows how big this can get? It's going to change our lives, Alex. It's going to take a long time now. The current rate, we need roughly 80 to 90 years of podcasting to reach our goals. But we will persevere.
Nothing else to do.
I don't got a damn thing to do. Thank you, everybody who has subscribed so far. Thank you, everybody who listens to our episodes. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody who comments. It's really, I get excited. I post and I get excited for a comment. I'm like, is somebody going to comment? Every once in a while, we get a comment, 2 comments. I always respond. I hit that like button. I love it. Thank you, commenters. Do you have any words of wisdom to leave the viewers with today, Alex? I gave you a few weeks off of words of wisdom because you were running out of words of wisdom.
You surprised me. I wasn't expecting it.
You weren't expecting it.
Wash your hands, everyone. Especially when you're handling your expensive Magic cards.
It's very sensible advice. Thank you. See you next week.